Hey everyone, it's Mari and I'm very excited to bring you Art Party Friday, video number 1 here on the Crafty Maven Getaway channel on YouTube. I want to give a shout out to Hannah Lemieux for all of her hard work in setting up the channel and giving us all an opportunity to come to one place to share our passion for creating all kinds of forms of art. So today, Art Party Friday is an opportunity for me and for the following people on Art Party Friday to be really creative with any of the products that we have in our stash and to create a project such as an art journal page or any other creative piece that we want to share. So today I'm going to be working on an 8.5 by 11 art journal page on Strathmore mixed media paper. And the reason why I started to art journal is, I guess, because I wanted to do some creative things with my art products in my craft room, but I also, pardon me, I also want to leave something behind for my kids that they can look at, and it will remind them of how much I like to do things like that, and also to remind them of some important things in life, at least according to mom. So I usually try to make my art journals have some sort of message or some kind of little sentiment on them that's meaningful. I really like to art journal because it really gives me the opportunity to express myself however I want, and there's no rules, there's no, nothing that you necessarily have to follow, and I just really like that. I think it's very freeing and it's a lot of fun. The inspiration for my layout today it's kind of an interesting story. It comes from my husband and his desire, or on his bucket list, to go for a hot air balloon ride one day. And so my kids and I decided that we would give him that for his 50th birthday when he recently turned 50. So that's kind of the inspiration for my art journal page today. So that's a little introduction to the process today. So the process is going to start right away. Thanks for watching. So what I'm going to be starting with here today is my mixed media paper, and I'm going to be applying some gel medium, some matte gel medium on there with a brush. And I'm getting a fairly heavy coat on there because I want to adhere some hazel and ruby tissue paper onto there. And I'm just going to use my bone folder just to smooth it out, get all the bubbles out of it, and make sure that it's nice and tight to the paper. And I love this tissue paper, and it's all about happiness and what you need to do to be happy, which kind of fits in very much with the design that I'm going to be working on today. So I'm just adding some gesso, some opaque gesso there, and I'm going to add some water on there just so that it's a bit of a wash, so it's a little more translucent than if it was just on there completely solid. And I want to cover up that paper a little bit, but I want it to also provide a background for the rest of my art journal page. So I'm just going to show you the gelato colors that I'm going to be working with today, and this goes along with the inspiration that Hannah provided us with on Pinterest. So I'm going to be using those two pillows, the green and blue striped and the pink and orangey colored striped pillows, as my color inspiration for this layout today. Now, one of the things that I often use Pinterest for is for the colors in the layouts that I'm going to be working on, whether it's scrapbooking or in my art journal or making a card or whatever. So here I'm just going to be putting down some gelatos in that color palette, and I'm just going to add some water onto there just to blend those colors out a little bit. So I really love this one. It's got a little bit of a shine to it, and it's really, really pretty. It could be called mint. I'm not exactly sure, but it's one of the big scoop ones. And you can see that it just does really go down nicely onto that gesso. So it's really great to prime your paper if you're going to be using gelatos, just so that you can work with them and blend them a little bit more easily. So I'm just using a variety of the greens and blues there together because I am creating the impression of a sky. And I want to blend as many different colors from that color palette in so that they all kind of work together with the colors that I'm going to be adding as the journal page continues and develops here. So these are just some gelato colors that most of them come from the from a little pack that I got at Michael's. And then I have ordered some of the larger ones online just to complement the ones that I have. So just really love these colors, and the colors that were in those pillows are some of my favorite colors. So it wasn't much of a stretch for me to try to figure out how I would blend them together and work with them for this page. So you can just see I'm just continuing to blend out those gelatos, and this is a really easy process to do. You can use your finger or you can use a brush, whatever you prefer, and you actually will see me doing a little bit of both during the process of adding these colors in. So just kind of trying to blend those together. I don't have a lot of water in that brush. It's actually almost even dry, and just because I want to just add, I want to control the water with that spritzer more than with a brush, and just use the brushes to move it a little bit. So now you can see that I've added a few more things. I've added some more of those colors, and I've added some paper. I'm going to now add some paper to the bottom. This is, I don't know, about 100-year-old piece of Stampin' Up! Cardstock or pattern paper that I have in my stash, and I have a lot of Stampin' Up! Pattern papers, and I still just love those papers. There's some really fun ones there. So I just wanted to create the impression of the ground underneath the sky using that pattern paper. So it's got some trees on it, and then I just added in that polka dot paper just for some fun. I just thought that it was cute, and it went with the colors and everything, and complemented the other paper. So I just added that on there with some gel medium, and I was fairly generous I put a fairly generous layer on there just because I want to make sure that it sticks. And I'm also going to add some other color products over top of that later, so you can see what I do with that in a bit. So now I'm just going to take this. I took this balloon is actually a free GIF off of Google, and it's just a free download that you can use there. So I just printed it onto some cardstock on my printer, and what I did, because I don't have color fast ink in my printer, I just went over top of that paper, over top of the balloon with some gesso, and now I'm just working on some color onto it with my gelatos. So I wanted to stick with my gelatos just because I wanted to stay with that same color family that's in the background on the page. So you can see me just working with that little brush and some water, just trying to blend those colors out and add some color to that hot air balloon there. So just working on my mat, on my silicone mat, my Heidi Swap mat, which I just absolutely love having that mat down when I'm working with a bunch of different mixed media, because you don't have to worry about staining it or anything like that. It's just really a really practical base to work on when you're working with a bunch of different stuff. So you can just see me adding the pinks and the blues and the orange, just to give that balloon a little bit of character and a little bit of color. So I'm just going to continue to do that and work away at adding those colors to that balloon. So this, like I said before, this has been primed with gesso so that it does allow me to work on that paper without damaging the cardstock. And this is just cardstock, it's not mixed media paper. So I just wanted to make sure that it was primed and I'd be able to work with those different colors on there. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that silver gelato down at the bottom to the basket. And I just love anything shiny and glittery. You'll see me add a variety of different shiny products to this page as we go through the process. So now you can see that what I did was I took some Heidi Swap Color Shine, a variety of different colors. I just sprayed them on my mat and I brushed them onto the layout where the like colors were, just to give it a little bit of shine and a little bit of gloss. And I also took my Wink of Stella and I went over the balloon with the Wink of Stella, just to add a little bit of shine and glitter to that balloon as well. And now I'm just trying to remember what I did next. Oh yeah, I'm gonna just stick down my balloon with some more gel medium. And I love working with gel medium for sticking down products onto your art journal pages, just because there's so many different products on there. If you want anything to stick, it's difficult. So this is a really great way. Sorry, I'm working off the out of frame there a little bit. This is a really, really great way to get things to stick down onto your layout, is by using the gel medium. So these are just some circles that I had created some Heidi Swap paper using a bunch of different color shine colors. I created a piece of paper that had a whole bunch of different colors on it. And this was for a scrapbooking layout that I did a while back. And what I did was I took the leftover paper and I just took a variety of different circle punches and I cut them out, and the colors just go perfectly with this layout. So I just thought I would add them in just to make them almost look like they're little balloons or paper lanterns or something like that floating around the large hot air balloon. So I'm just going to add those on with some more gel medium, and I'm just going to go over top of them a little bit. You don't want to overwork the gel medium on top of products like gelatos or color shine, because it will actually reactivate those products and lift them a little bit. So you want to make sure that you just go gently with that color shine, or I'm sorry, with that gel medium. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of white acrylic paint and just create a little bit of an illusion of some clouds floating around in there. I didn't want too much. I just wanted just a little bit of a hint of that white mixed in there. And I'm just going to dry that up a little bit. So one of the really huge things with the different media is you always want to make sure that you're drying as you go, because you don't want to be working on the different products when they're wet, because that will create some problems. I'm just going to take some Dina Wakley navy acrylic paint here. I'm going to take a Tim Holtz stencil and add some navy letters to the layout. And I really wanted to add some dark, just to get some dark popping off at that layout a little bit too. So just adding that stencil on there just to add some interest and some darker color, just to add that contrast onto the page. And this is just really easy to do, taking that Tim Holtz tool and just adding that acrylic paint on just by pouncing it on there. And so that just adds, like I said, just adds a really nice little bit of contrast onto the page. And so I'm just going to get that to dry. And the nice thing about acrylic paint is it does dry quite rapidly. It's probably one of the fastest drying products that you'll use in all of the products that you have to use when you're journaling, art journaling. And I'm not sure. I think maybe I'm looking for a stencil right now. And I'm going to add a little bit of some texture paste. So this is another Tim Holtz stencil. It's the honeycomb stencil. And I'm going to take some Ranger texture paste and I'm going to add that stencil, that paste onto there in just a couple of different areas. Now, the products underneath have completely dried. One of the things is if you add texture paste over top of some products, the color will get absorbed by the texture paste, but gelatos don't have that property. So it's okay to add this texture paste over top of the base that I have here. So I'm just going to clean that up a little bit and make sure that doesn't harden into cement on my stencil, and get that all cleaned up and tidied up. So I'm just going to continue to get that texture paste really dry. If you have not worked with texture paste before, it's really super important, whether it's the modeling paste or the texture paste, whatever you're using, make sure that you dry it really, really super well before you carry on with the next step, because it will obviously get bumped and moved and so on, and you don't want that to happen. So now I'm just kind of thinking a little bit about what I want to do for letters for the title. I wasn't going to stamp it. I had kind of been playing around with a bunch of different alphas that I have in my stash, and I wasn't really sure how I wanted it to go and which ones I wanted to use. So I just kind of spent a little bit of time going through my stash and checking that out. Now you can see I'm just going to take my Faber-Castell Pitt pen in the cobalt blue, and I'm just going to add a little bit of dimension and color to the top of that white paper at the bottom of the layout. It just adds just a really nice little shadow there and defines the edge of that paper a little bit, which I really like the look of. And I actually took the Pip pen and added a little bit of dimension to some of those circles, and I just did that off camera, but you can hardly even see it. I just wanted it to be really, really subtle. I didn't want it to be too dark. Now, the nice thing about the Pip pens, if you're using them over top of gel medium, which I did at the bottom there, I used the gel medium to adhere that paper, the white paper at the bottom. So there's gel medium there. So the nice thing about the Pip pen is that it is India ink, and you can apply it over top of gel medium, and there's some open time where you can blend it. So I did go over top, if you recall, I went over top of the balloon with gel medium, and so I can add that Pip pen onto there and just blend it out a little bit with my finger, because that gel medium is not porous. That ink will just sit on top, and let me just play around with it a little bit until I get the look that I like. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the orange and the red. Here you can see I'm adding a little bit of the red to the pink section of the balloon, just to add a little more color. The color is really subtle from the gelatos, and I just wanted to add a little bit of definition and just get a little bit of just to get some more color going on there, make it a little bit darker. And I'm just going to continue to add a little bit of that onto the balloon here and there, just to make it pop a little bit off the paper. So that's the Pip pens. And now what I did off camera was I took some 7 paper alphas in the gold. I love those alphas. They're so awesome. And so that's a Studio Calico product, and it says Follow Your Dreams. So that's a title for this art journal layout. And now I'm just taking some distress ink in dark blue. I think that might be Broken China, but I can't remember exactly. And I'm just going around there with a little bit of it. And then I decide it's not quite dark enough. I take some Stampin' Up. Maybe it's called Midnight Muse or something like that. Some really dark blue. And I go around the edge with my Tim Holtz tool again, just to add a darker edge and just frame the page in completely. And so, you know what? This page is almost done. I'm just going to add a little bit of paint splatters to it, and it's almost complete. So I had so much fun working on this page and sharing this process with you today. And if you think that art journaling is something that you'd like to do, I really encourage you to try it out. Just use the stuff you have already and find a way to incorporate the products that you already have that you can use and just create something. It doesn't take a lot of product to create something really interesting and fun. And there's lots of free things that you can print off the internet that you can use that will work too. So that will help you out, like my balloon. So I just used a little bit of acrylic paint there. I just mixed it up with a little bit of water and just got a nice fluid splatter going on there in white, just to add a little bit of a highlight and some more interest to the page. And I'm going to add a couple Heidi Swapp Color Shine splatters. This one is navy, and I'm going to add some of that navy, which seemed to be a little bit chunky for some reason, and I'm going to splatter that on there. And then I'm going to get my gold Color Shine, which is my absolutely most favorite product ever, and add that on there too, and that will just pop off of there. So thanks so much for joining me for the very first Art Party Friday, and I hope that you have an amazing Friday and an amazing weekend. Bye.